Azure Virtual Machine is an IaaS, infrastructure as a service, computing resource offered by Azure. You don't need to worry about hardware that VM runs on, but you still have to perform tasks like configuring, patching, and installing the software that runs on it. To create an Azure Virtual Machine using Azure Portal, search Virtual Machine and click on Create. Select the subscription, resource group, region where you want to deploy your VM. Provide VM name of your choice, which should be unique in the resource group. Let's discuss the availability options that are available. Availability zones. If selected, you can create multiple instances of VM in different zones or data centers in same region. Availability set gives you option to create multiple instances of VM in different fault and update domains in same data center. We will discuss about VM scale set in another video. Choose the availability option wisely depending on criticality and purpose of your VM, as you cannot change it after VM deployment. Please note that availability zones or sets only provides you option to deploy multiple instances of your VM and doesn't create it on its own. Let's assume you choose to deploy VM in availability zone, then in next option you choose which zone you want to deploy VM in. If you select Zone 1, you will get one VM in Zone 1. Later you can create another VM manually in Zone 2 or 3 for redundancy. Now we also have option to choose multiple zones in same deployment, which if selected will deploy one instance in each selected zones. For now, we will select no redundancy required to save cost, as we are creating a VM for testing purpose. We will discuss security options in another video. Leave the default value for now. Select the OS image you want to use to deploy the VM. We will select Windows 2016 Data Center for this lab. Next, we only have x64 architecture for selected image, so we will proceed with it. If you want to know more about any option, click on I icon next to the option to get its details. Select Spot Instance option if you want to avail and used Azure capacity discount, and if you can afford downtime anytime, as Azure might claim the capacity anytime. We will keep it unchecked for this lab. Select the required VM size based on factors like required processing power, memory, storage capacity. Enter the local admin username and password that you will use to log into the VM. Choose if you want to open any inbound port. We will open 3389, which is RDP port for now. However, it is not recommended. There are other ways to log into your VM which are more secure, which we will discuss in other video. If you already have OS license and want to leverage discount for using it, select the hybrid benefit option. We will leave it as it is and click on Next. On Disks page, you can choose encryption at host option if available for your subscription to encrypt temporary disk as well as cache. However, even without it, by default data on OS and data disks is encrypted at rest with platform managed keys. Select the OS disk type from Premium SSD, Standard SSD, Standard HDD as per your needs. We also have option of zone redundant storage now if you need. Select whether you would like disk to get deleted when you will delete the VM or leave it behind. If you have your own key for encryption, then select Customer Managed Key or leave the default selected. If you need high throughput and IOPS, select the Ultra Disk Compatibility option. Note that you will have to attach Ultra disks explicitly, then if you don't you will get charged for not using it. You can create new data disk and attach to VM if required, or add existing data disk if needed. We will go ahead with OS disk only as of now. On networking page, select the VNet and subnet where you want to deploy the VM in. Your VM will get private IP from available IPs in subnet specified. Please note that you cannot change the VNet or subnet of VM once it has been deployed, so select it carefully. Select if you want to attach public IP. We will create and attach one for now, but it is not recommended from security point of view. Select if you want to attach NSG to network interface for controlling traffic to VM. Select if you want to delete NIC while deleting VM or leave it behind. Select if you need accelerated networking for low latency. Select if you want to add this VM to backend pool of load balancer or application gateway, and if so, select the resource in next option. We will go ahead with none. Most of the management options, like enabling managed identity, backup, DR, or auto shutdown, can be changed later as well. We will use auto shutdown only for now. Provide time when you want to shut down the VM automatically and email ID to notify at that time. Choose the appropriate patching option and click on Next. Choose the monitoring options as per your need. For now, we will go with default option of collecting boot diagnostic logs in managed storage account. Any post-deployment activities like VM extension installation, post-deployment script or configuration files download can be passed here. We will talk about host groups, PPG, capacity reservation options in other relevant videos. Add tags to VM or resources that would be created along with VM creation like NIC, public IP, disks, etc. Review the settings and click on Create once the validation is passed. Once VM has been deployed, go to your resource, and on Overview page, we can see all the settings that we selected while creating VM. You can see default platform or host level monitoring details of VM or additional details if you had enabled other options. You can see additional capabilities or options to enable for the VM and Azure Advisor recommendations. From left side, you can see or assign access to your VM from IAM. In networking, see NIC and subnet NSG details. You can modify the inbound and outbound access from there and then connect to your VM using RDP. You can see disks attached to VM, add or remove disks, change VM size, assign managed identity, or see its properties like resource ID and subscription ID. You can use run command for troubleshooting if needed that can run script inside VM, and you can fetch or change configuration using it. You can use Azure Monitor for additional monitoring options. See default metrics under monitoring section. You can use logic apps or other automation options to perform required tasks on VM. You can see boot status if boot diagnostics is enabled, reset password if required, or redeploy the VM. You can also use Serial Console for accessing VM or create support ticket for help from support and troubleshooting. There are some other options like Bastion, Backup, DR, Defender for Cloud, which we'll discuss about in other videos.